I think that, because we formed this global mind, if you will, that after we beat the virus, those connections, not every one of them, but many of them will remain. And we'll have let's say, a shared civilization memory of what worked and what didn't. We'll all see a whole bunch of rapid models and tests. We'll see how A/B testing works. We're all going to be better decision makers. Because one of the weird things is, this has been like a Harvard business case in how to make decisions with inadequate information that's changing all the time and lots of interests and lots of variables. And because it's such a shared experience, we all were engaged in the Harvard business case. We all got to see all the variables. We all got to say, all right, if this were me, what would I do? How would I handle this? And so we all sort of learned almost like a college class in crisis management. We all kind of witnessed something incredible, which is what humans can do if friction is removed. I would like to read to you, before I take your questions, a tweet thread that might make you feel better. So some of you already saw this, but I think it's worth reading it to you again. And it goes like this. The coronavirus is acting like an unwelcome Olympics for scientists, doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, techies, leaders, parents, and ordinary heroes of every kind, setting records in every event. You can almost feel humanity getting smarter. The most capable among us are forming lasting connections, sharing best practices, learning shortcuts, building a working trust, creating tools at blazing speeds. One way to imagine the future is that the economy will lose trillions of dollars and we'll never get it back. Another filter on the future is that energy doesn't disappear. It only relocates and changes form. A huge amount of energy is leaving the economy. We know that for sure. What is less clear is where that energy is going. My filter shows a global mind being formed in real time to fight our common enemy, the virus. That mind needs a lot of energy, like a newborn. And wow, is it getting it? I had resisted the common pundit prediction that everything would be different after this crisis because I expect a speedy recovery. But I revised my opinion. While I still expect a speedy recovery, I also think this experience is rewiring the collective mind of civilization. We probably crammed years of innovation into months. We'll be coming out of this with a lot of extra knowledge about our systems and about ourselves. And that energy will get channeled back into the economy. The coming weeks will test us all. But when it is over, we will be far smarter and far tougher in every way. As Steve Jobs proved, the right thoughts and the right skill stack can turn into trillions of dollars. Civilization's skill stack is undergoing a major upgrade. Watch how much energy that later pumps into the economy. It will be amazing. So, that's my positive thoughts for the day. If any of you have any...
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat?
If any of you have a question, I would be happy to take a shot at it. All right. Yeah, that was a tweet thread that I wrote earlier today, so it's pinned to my Twitter feed if you want to see it. And yeah, somebody says the energy released thanks to deregulation. Yeah, one wonders if you can put that genie back in the bottle so easily. That we all kind of witnessed something incredible, which is what humans can do if friction is removed, and friction in terms of government requirements. Now, of course, that's dangerous, but it was pretty amazing. I mean, we were right in the middle of it, and watching it it's sort of it's a privilege to be able to watch this degree of human capability coming together at this time. What does the ideal government look like? Well, I think we might be evolving into it, oddly enough. Here's what I mean when I talk about the energy that's being taken out of the economy and then stored into the global mind. Imagine, if you will, that before this crisis, that people were sort of like independent islands. Each person, just think of them as an island. Just visualize this. And some of those islands had, bridges connecting them. So now in your mind, connect a few of the islands to each other, but make sure not all of the islands are connected to all the other islands. They're just, you can get from every island to every other island, but maybe you have to do a 2-hop or something. But what this crisis did is it took those existing islands, and suddenly everybody could talk to other people, and they did it easily because of the internet, and we formed these connections instantly that didn't exist before. So there were a whole bunch of bridges that just went springing out from each island, so that everybody now was only one jump away from everybody else. You didn't have to do a 2-hop to get to anybody. You could pick up a phone, you could send a message, you could DM, and you were talking to anybody in the world. And if they needed you and you needed them and you recognized it, you connected immediately. And if you visualize those islands, first with just a few bridges, but enough to get from anywhere to anywhere, and then suddenly bridges from every island in every direction, that's where all the energy went. So all the energy that we had been putting into the economy, we suddenly just turned in the same direction as one, following our leaders who were pointing us at the common enemy, the virus. And over several weeks, we've taken all of that energy that would have otherwise been put into the various parts of the economy, focused on this one incredibly important task, and something amazing is happening. And I think that, because we formed this global mind, if you will, that after we beat the virus, those connections, not every one of them, but many of them will remain. And we'll have a let's say a shared civilization memory of what worked and what didn't. We'll all see a whole bunch of rapid models and tests. We'll see how A/B testing works. We're all going to be better decision makers. Because one of the weird things is, this has been like a Harvard business case in how to make decisions with inadequate information that's changing all the time and lots of interests and lots of variables. And because it's such a shared experience, we all were engaged in the Harvard business case. We all got to see all the variables. We all got to say, all right, if this were me, what would I do? How would I handle this? And so we all sort of learned almost like a college class in crisis management. If you think about it, it would take you a while to make a list. But if you thought about all the concepts that are really good ones, the things that you'll learn at the end of this cycle, because it's like we're all at college basically. We're learning a ton about how do you approach these situations? What do you do? How do you get ready? How do you assess risk? How do you manage risk? How do you balance things when these kinds of lives are at the risk versus these kind? How do you apply ingenuity to the problem versus money versus all those things? So I think we're going to come out of this with a global mind that's grown all these new neurons, that many of them will be permanent. And we'll just know how to solve problems differently. We'll have maybe a different feeling about red tape. Maybe we won't tolerate it. Perhaps we'll have procedures that we do in good times and a set of procedures that immediately go into effect when there's a crisis. And at the very least, this situation has surfaced who the leaders are, and who the capable people are, and who the people really, you can depend on in a crunch. And I think some of that's permanent too. There will be people within corporate America, probably people in government, whose entire careers will be determined by how they get through the next several months. Just the way 9/11 made a Rudy Giuliani. This is not just New York, although they're getting hit hardest. This is all of us. So every mayor, every governor, every senator, every representative, every person on the task force, they're all on audition for a better job or more responsibility later. So if nothing else, we're going through the greatest talent filter our country has ever experienced. That's good. And I do think, even though I'm a bit of a cynic and a skeptic, I do think that some of what we're learning about being able to work together is going to last. Not all of it. There's going to be a lot of goodwill that's happening now because people understand there are higher priorities than arguing about politics. And most of that will go away. As soon as we get back to normal, we just go back to being humans. We get a little tribal because we would have that luxury. But I don't think it's all going away. I think there's going to be a good, solid 10% that is a lasting civilization memory that says, yeah, I'm arguing with you now, but when the stuff goes down, you and I are going to be on the same team. I've always thought that that's why the United States and France, for example, will always be best buddies, internationally. No matter how much we argue with them, and if you don't like them for this or their attitude or their policies or their socialists, whatever, we might bicker like siblings forever. But the one thing that we sort of believe about each other, France and the United States, is that based on history, we would have each other's backs. That feels permanent, doesn't it? When was the last time, in your lifetime, when was the last time you had to have France's back? Or France had to have our back? In the skirmishes and Iraq and stuff. But those were sort of, over there. I'm not sure if that was a case of anybody having anybody's backs. But we would, right? And part of the reason that we would, like with 100% certainty, if you live in America, that if France were seriously threatened by an external threat, the next thing that France would hear is, could you step out of the way? Could you, we love that you want to fight this out on your own, but seriously, just step out of the way. Give us 10 minutes. And the United States would take care of business because we would always have France's back. And the reason we would is because they've had our back, right, historically, and vice versa. So that kind of feeling can last generations. And there might be, this is the hopeful part of me, there might be just a little bit of this experience when we get to the end of it that we just remember as a society. We just remember that we're capable. We're just capable of being on the same side when it's important.